Hello, and welcome to season 2 of the Coaching Couch podcast. Hello there, Kitty.
Hey, good evening, Katrin. Calling in from the Netherlands again.
Yep, I'm in Zurich at home, and I have to apologize for us starting the second season a bit later than we planned, but I actually managed to halfway elegantly tie this in with the topic that we have today. Our topic today is priorities, and our season starts a bit late because I had to prioritize my health. We wanted to record originally like 2 weeks ago, and I would have just coughed into the microphone. So we pushed this back and chose a topic, priorities. And actually, in those 2 weeks, I made a list of priorities.
Oh, wow.
I want to prioritize in my life. Big story.
Big story.
It's a huge story. I kind of had to because I wasn't surprised I was getting sick. I was working way too much, and there was a lot of stress in my life. And of course, then I caught the flu. And I thought about it, and I thought I need to change something. So I made a list of priorities. And on top of it is health. It's just my mental health and my physical health. And whatever I do, that's like where I start. I have physically a bunch of Post-its on my whiteboard, top down. What are my priorities? And I go through like, do I feel well enough? Have I slept enough? Have I eaten well? Am I in pain? Do I need to work out to make the pain go away? And after that is job-related stuff. So I have a billion ideas like this podcast in my mind. And sometimes I tend to do everything at the same time, which is kind of not what I would advise anyone to do. But my focus currently is on getting stress out of the way and feeling less stressed.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's mostly also about, I know we talked about goals.
Yes.
I don't know if it was the last episode or maybe episode before.
Mm-hmm.
On goals and, your well-being or other things. It's goals in itself, life's goals in this case. And you can't have it all at the same time as you can with anything anyway. So yeah, that's good to relate it to. And also I think it also has to do with resilience, and the focus. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was it's funny that you bring up goals, because that's what came up when I thought about the topic as well. Yeah, we talked about it in one of our previous episodes.
Yeah.
The first thing that came to my mind when I thought about my priority list was my brain and my heart have different priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to be creative. I want to do this podcast thing. I want to work on my website. I want to draw. I want to do new stuff. But my brain says you should sleep more.
Mm-hmm.
No, you should take a break. No, you should do your taxes first. Because my brain knows not sleeping enough and not doing taxes adds to stress.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it still hard to juggle whatever, brain and heart or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that as much as that happens to me, like in my life, it's sort of the same for priorities in whatever it is that you do.
Yeah, I was going to say in any case anyways, because I think both are equally important and they belong so much together and they should be aligned, and sometimes it's not always possible.
They should be aligned, the heart and the brain?
Yes, I think so. But it depends on...
You mean as in, ideally they would be, but they hardly ever are?
Yeah, but I think one should respect the other. Because they're both important, and as in, I don't know, I'm thinking about an example which I don't have yet, but it'll come or not. But they go so much hand in hand, and they reinforce each other if things are okay enough. And sometimes being aligned is not it's not a balancing act of 50-50. Sometimes it's, I don't know, 95% of the heart and 5% of the head, or the other way around. can also be in alignment depending on the value or the bigger goal that you want to achieve anyways, which can change in time. So yeah, I think the alignment
95%. So if you follow your heart 95%,
yeah,
you end up not doing your taxes, not showing up for work a lot because you follow your heart.
No, I don't agree. I mean, with me, for instance, following my heart means, okay, I follow the integrity that I feel inside of me, and by take the example of the doing taxes, other than that it's gonna cost me extra money, I don't feel good about it because it's an obligation that I have, and I want to live up to my obligations. And for me as an entrepreneur, hey, I took this thing, so this goes along with it, and not living up to that is also a thing to the heart. I mean, it's not just the thing that you actually do while filling in the taxes or paying the taxes. That is more of the head, but being in line with the regulation or the things that you promised you would do, whether it being to a person or to the tax office for that matter, to me that doesn't really make a big difference anyway. So for me, that example would have to go with integrity, which is one of major values of myself as a person, from the heart, I mean.
Yes, I was going to say it has to do with values. What do you value as a person?
Yeah.
And that might be different for everybody. That might be you value integrity, and to other people it might not be so important.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No pressure on anyone. But the way I know you, I know that you value integrity a lot, and that it makes total sense. I mean, I'm the same way. I try to pay my bills on time and stuff like that because it makes me feel good about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I do that.
Yeah.
But still, nevertheless, filling in a form and doing all the boring math,
doing some of that basic stuff might not be that.
Given the choice of drawing a picture and filling in my tax form.
Yeah.
Sometimes my brain cannot convince my heart.
Doodle the tax form.
Even though I do have this part of me that wants the integrity, as you called it, and sometimes they don't draw. But it's not like they always, like I would say my heart and my brain do not prioritize in the same way.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. So how does your heart prioritize, do you know?
I think it doesn't think about long-term effects. Do you know the blog Wait But Why? It's
no,
awesome.
But you're going to tell me. So.
Yeah, the person writing it writes way too long texts. Like you can't read them in one go, but they're amazing. And he has this what he calls the instant gratification monkey. You can actually buy a plush toy. The actual instant gratification monkey.
Yeah.
And we all have one.
Okay.
And my heart is more an instant gratification monkey. Like, you might know this. You see something and you're like, oh my God, this is such a cool T-shirt, and I totally want to buy it right now. This T-shirt will make me happy.
Yeah. You go for the shirt.
All your brain would say, didn't we want to save money for this other thing that's kind of nice that we want to buy? And I think that's at least for me one part is the instant gratification of whatever it is that I could do right now, including napping or eating. A diet is like that, chocolate right now and be happy for a short amount of time, or don't eat it and a long time from now maybe get something back that could make you happy, maybe.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe you could referring to the blog posts, we can do it in the either on screen or in the notes.
We can put a link to Wait But Why in the notes. Let me write that down. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great blog. They have a great post. I think it says something like every new blog post every sometimes, because obviously it takes them a long time to research and write. But they're great articles and they're worth giving it more than one sitting when you read.
So you were talking about the prioritization of your things that go to the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And how is that different from prioritization to the head or head related stuff?
Well, my head is very logic, and computing is, I think they do go hand in hand in the sense that my heart wants something. Mm-hmm. For example, becoming an entrepreneur, becoming self-employed, and then my brain goes and figures out a way.
Yeah, okay. So you use your brain on okay.
How do I advertise for this? How much money do I set aside for this and that? How do I organize my insurances? That's all brain.
So and I understand you're using your head to follow your heart or to make actions for the things that you want to follow up on.
Yeah, but then like how is the track? Like I give it a goal.
Yeah.
And my heart is on this track to go. My head is on this track to like, okay, I will do this, and then I'll do that, and then I'll do that, and then I'll do that.
And is that in a logical form?
Like already over here. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, that goal, I liked it 2 years ago. And it's fine, but that thing would be really cool. And my brain is like,
hello.
Aren't we going here? Don't you want to go here first? We've not even reached that goal yet, and you're already, what are you doing? Where are you going, heart? And that makes it confusing, and that makes it hard to set priorities that, just following your heart and just following whatever instinct it is that you have next, whatever, you're like, oh, this is cute, and that is cute. I feel like a dog, it's like a dog out in the park in the spring.
Yeah.
Like, this is a nice smell, and that's a nice smell too. If you do that, you're probably not getting anywhere, and you never really satisfy the things that are really deep things that you want. You can satisfy some superficial things like a new pair of shoes or a t-shirt or whatever, but not the real things. For that, you need a little bit more grit and a little bit more time or whatever. And it's my brain. Yeah. Something's beeping in your background. Is that the washing machine?
I don't know.
Off, not the washing machine. And then the coffee machine made a sound, and maybe there will be other sounds in the background, different appliances for Kitty's needs.
Yeah.
We'll try and get back to talking about priorities. And
yeah,
I wanted to.
I was thinking matters from going from my head. I prioritize more on like my head is doing the rationale. So I tend to write stuff down or make Trello boards or whatever it is to make some sense out of it. And things from the heart is really, it's more gut feeling and instinct, not too regulated at all. I think I'm a less organized person than you are, for example, as you are asking about the differences. Does that surprise you? So I am structured, but I'm not, I don't know, I'm not formally structured. Let's say I'm structured in my own world. Inside of me, I'm structured.
Yeah, but I think that's the point. I am totally not structured in my brain.
Oh, really?
It's why I need a lot of external structure to
so you
understand what's going on. I need
those things,
Trello boards and whatever, Excel sheets and tons of, I'm just looking around my desk and there's tons of stuff where I wrote things down and like tried to make sense of the world.
Okay, yeah.
So it makes the appearance that I am really organized.
Or did you need organization more than?
Really to organize myself and to figure things out. I cannot do it just like that. Like my head is a mess.
Okay. Yeah, no, my head is pretty clear most of the time, I'd say. And I don't know how it is for you, but I'm a more of a long-term person. So sometimes I do get distracted, but not that much. I always have the bigger picture in mind, or at least I hope I can. Also for clients, of course. I mean.
Yeah, for clients, it's not so hard.
Oh yeah, is that different? Oh, for me, it's relatively similar. I think, on the way that I approach things. Let's say.
No, I'd say with clients, I'm much more patient and much more
Oh yes. Oh yes, I can surely relate to that.
and much more long term and much more. Let's build a basis first before we build on top of that, because it's going to make more sense. You'll be able to
be more stable.
Yes, you'll be able to trust yourself. Let's say, one small step at a time, and gradually we'll get there. That would make a huge lot of sense for myself. Unfortunately, that's where the not being very patient with myself or in general part comes in. And I was wondering when you said that, am I a long-term person for myself? I think in my goals I am. Not sure if I am in my execution. Like looking back on my life, I never held a job, like an employed job. I never held one for longer than, I think just about 3 years was my absolute record year, and I should have done it a year earlier.
Okay. Yeah.
And other than that, never more than 2 years.
Yeah.
Which
well, actually,
necessarily, but it's just, I don't know. Do I move on quickly? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, reflecting back on that for myself, I think the longest employment that I had was 6 or 7 years. But I must say, yes, it was for the same company, but I've been doing projects for them anyway. So yeah, maybe a shorter term. But for me, long term is already like a year and a half is long term.
Oh, okay. Then I'm a long-term person.
So yeah, I know that long term for me is different. Yeah, it's good that we talk about it because long term for some people is like 10 to 20 years or maybe even more.
I was going to say, I have a friend who's worked for the same company for 10 years and she's more or less doing the same job. Like a little more responsibility, a little more this and that, a little more pay, but 10 years. And I'm like, I'd live on a different planet by now.
Yeah, that's also not for me, but I do have a huge amount of respect for people that do. It's
coming
more
back
of
to priorities, I think I was thinking when I was preparing for the call, I was thinking of how do I name this, how to prioritize, and I came down to I call it an axis.
Yeah.
Like along which axis are you going to optimize?
Yeah.
It's like when you have a diagram and you can optimize to go maximally in this direction or maximally in that direction.
Okay.
Or you want to optimize the sum of both, which then probably doesn't allow you to go maximum on either direction, but the sum is going to be biggest. Like if you have a function going on.
Yeah.
So I think maybe every one of us is consciously or unconsciously. Hello, dog. Not an appliance this time. So I think consciously or unconsciously, every one of us is prioritizing. And when you think about it, you should first decide on along which axis do you want to prioritize. And maybe with me switching jobs so fast, or faster than other people anyway, I prioritize along, am I still happy? Is this still interesting to me? Is this still what I want to do?
Yeah.
And I do not optimize for stability or financial, maximum income or something like that.
Yeah, but that also relates back to the values again, right? So you value more of the, I'm still happy here. Which also,
do I learn something new and so on.
Yeah.
I value that more than, for example, maximum income.
Yeah.
And so I optimize along that axis for that value maybe.
Yeah.
And other people have more of a value of belonging, or the relationships that they have at work, the friendships that they've made, or stability or convenience. They work really close to where they work.
Yeah.
And their priority is to keep that in check, and they don't. It's not so important to them to learn something new every other year. So it's
sort of have a stable
concept of I'm not sure if an axis is the same as a value.
I was actually thinking maybe if you would map it in some sort of a, like you make team radars. You could make a spider web of some of the values and see, okay, where am I? Small to large, close to where I want to be, or my goal on this value. And then also be able to map priorities accordingly. So, okay, yeah, well, I'm already out of 5, I'm already on a 4 here, so maybe priorities should lie somewhere else for the sake of the focus of growing.
But that's saying that if you think of the spider web diagram,
yeah,
say you have 5 arms on the spider web,
yeah,
5 values. And by the way, if someone's looking for values, like what is a value, there's a thing called moving motivators. You just Google for it, you'll find it. It's a simple list of values that you can take. Moving motivators, we'll put a link in the description. Let's assume you cut it down to 5 that you find important. So you've got a spider web diagram of the 5 values that are important to you. Then what you're saying is you check, okay, optimum would be you give yourself a 5 and you're already on a 4, so maybe you should focus on a different arm, on a different axis. That's saying that, or maybe I misunderstand you here, but that would be saying that all 5 values are equally important to you. And
no, not necessarily.
Yeah, go ahead.
Not necessarily, because it can also change in time anyways.
Yes,
but at that point, at the point that you make the web, let's say, or you score yourself against these on this map, then you can see, okay, so if my head or my heart is going everywhere, what can or should I focus on? And maybe some are more important than others. And also when you do the moving motivators, which I tend to use quite a lot actually in more of in a personal coaching than in a team context, but nevertheless, sort of make this pyramid of what is most important to you.
I call it playoffs. Like you just have one against the other. It's like a tennis tournament. Like one against the other, which one wins?
Yeah.
And in the end, you've got one that's on top.
Yeah.
So if you want to
do
that.
For me, you can have 1 or 2 on top, depending. But it's just how you use it. But then it doesn't necessarily mean that those should be on the highest level. It's just you can use both.
Yeah, that's maybe you, instead of having the 5 arms of the spider web all with the same weight, you could say for each of those 5, on a scale of 0 to 10, with what would I be happy? So 0 is I cannot live this value at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely couldn't maximize it anymore. And maybe for some you're only happy if you achieve a 9, and for some you're happy if you achieve a 2. It's a little bit important, but not. You're happy if it's a 2, and then you can rate where am I actually, and then maybe you should work on the one where you have the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Or the one that's your top priority.
I'm gonna try this one out.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it sounds interesting.
Something to do. And that's what I mean, prioritizing the axis. You know, prioritize your values first before you start prioritizing your tasks. Because depending on whether you optimize for income or stability or whatever, for me it's health, or free time. You could optimize for free time. It's going to change. The priority of things to do is going to change. If you value cleanliness above everything else, because this, you enjoy living in a very clean and places picked up and orderly, then cleaning your windows will be very high on that list. Whereas if you prioritize for free time, you're probably not going to clean your windows. At least I won't.
That would be my
but clean your windows, that's fine. Just to say is and that's where I tied it into goals, is or where I tied in prioritizing things with goals, in that there's like layers or a hierarchy of things, and it starts with why.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with why, as in, what's your value? What is it that you want?
Mm-hmm.
And only then, when you've decided about what you want, what is important to you, then decide, okay, now in which order am I going to do things?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe
and how fast, or for me it's also, okay, how fast can I make this work anyway? Because I want small steps to success, but I want them as fast as I can.
Yeah, low-hanging fruit first.
Yeah.
I mean, that ties into what's your strategy when
exactly. Yeah.
And there's all sorts of weird things that people do. Like the thing that, and I have to get this off my chest.
Go for it.
Yes. Prioritization matrices. They drive me nuts. Like people because I'm a person that values science, and I kind of like math and numbers and physics. And it drives me nuts how people use, let's call it by name, Excel to compute these. So first they say, for example, we have customer happiness, we have the amount of business value that we think we can generate, we have how much we think this is going to cost, etc. So they're going to say, okay, this is twice as important as that. Based on freaking what?
Yeah.
Based on gut feeling or, I don't know, astrology, something. So these numbers are highly inaccurate.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, then for
they're subjective anyway. Yeah. Yeah,
they're subjective, and there's no basis for these numbers except for your gut feeling, which is not bad, but it's just not as accurate as the number makes it look. Okay, so let's assume that you could, by magic, you're able to estimate in integers, like 1, 2, 3, 4 on a scale of 0 to 10. You would be able to determine that. Let's assume that's your accuracy. No decimals, just integers. So you have the value that you put to each of those categories: customer value, business value, how much does it cost, blah, blah, blah. Cool. So then for each task you go and you say, how much do I think we'll make? How much business value will we generate? How much more happy will our customer be on a scale of 0 to 10? How much will this cost? How long will it take? And if you know anything about estimation, you will know that these numbers, I'm going to go as far and say, no matter which number you write in there, it's going to be anything but that number, but not that number. That's what I can promise with estimates. So what people then do is they compute a weighted average across these numbers, and in the end you have a score for every single task. Follow me? Yes?
Cool. Yes.
And that weighted average is going to have, I don't know, 10 places behind a comma, like decimals.
Yeah. Which makes it look even more accurate.
The input data does not have a single decimal place. Therefore, you are not allowed. It is just not sound to then compute something with higher precision that is more decimal places than your input data has. You cannot, with no computation in the world, can you generate more precision. And your input data is super imprecise. It's your gut feeling times gut feeling plus gut feeling times gut feeling. How do you get 10 decimals out of that? It's wrong. And even if you don't, even if you round it up, which is what you should do mathematically, you're going to argue about, why is this 71? And see, this is 71, and therefore we should do it before this thing that's 70.
Well, that's about making
that just isn't there.
Yeah, well, that's it's not about prioritization anymore.
It's about the not wanting to do it and therefore have Excel do it. Like, having the computer compute something for you.
Well, I think it's the lack of ownership.
That, oh, I'm doing it right.
Yeah, I think it's more of the lack of ownership to take, because it's it looks objectified, and then no, it's out of my hands, and it's what Excel says. So
yes,
we'll just go for that.
Recently, I had a client, and she was stalking her husband on a dating site.
Okay.
She found out that her husband is on a dating site, so she made an account too, so she could stalk his profile. And she said that we had a matching rate of, I don't know, I think 80 out of 85 points, or I don't know, nothing about this.
High.
High. And I was like, are you gonna base the future of your relationship on some algorithm that, I mean, the person who programmed the algorithm, they were just...
Yeah, well, anyways,
there's no science behind the prioritization matrix.
If it was good anyway.
Of yourself.
But she intentionally made that profile anyway, so she can have a look. So
yeah, naturally. But
she altered it as well.
She lets the website decide how much she matches with her current partner.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thinking. It's the thinking that the computer or Excel does a better job than you, based on the data that you give it. You tell
it. Why do you think, other than the lack of commitment, I mean, would people also go for prioritization on these numbers for things that, like the goals from the heart, like the values and such?
Ooh, good question. So you mean
like we were saying, or at least for me, it goes when I prioritize on things which are more from the heart. It's more of my gut feeling, hence extremely subjective.
Yeah, but you know that it's a goal from the heart, and therefore you want to prioritize in that way. And when we're dealing with businesses or brain goals, we want to be more objective or look smart, and we don't trust our feeling enough. We don't trust
but I think if you would go, I mean, a lot of companies have like, okay, we want super happy employees and not as high as a turnover rate or whatever. Or we want customer satisfaction on this and this amount, whatever. Which also, I mean, customer satisfaction is, am I happy with the product or services that I pay for? And do I feel like I've been heard by this company, which is also from the heart, not from the head? Would that then be different? Maybe it's not at this moment, but could we coach our clients more into this way? Say, hey, but we're just gonna lay off the Excel people and fuck the NPS score. Oh, sorry. Get rid of NPS scores and the likes of it, because this is about satisfaction, which is from the heart. So
I think a lot of people could agree that a customer satisfaction is important, and they'll immediately put a number behind it. I guess the customer satisfaction, the customer heart thing, is something that most people in business understand, but they don't trust their own gut feeling about it.
Why would they? Because they don't understand the customer?
They don't
trust them. But you can ask the customer.
Yeah, you could.
You should.
But about a lot of things, I think it just has to do with insecurity, with not
that's interesting.
For this is what I believe is important, and this is what I believe we should do. So based on the values that we prioritized in step 1, I believe the first thing that we should do is this and that. So my favorite prioritization method is prioritization poker, where you put all your tasks on a table, on a Post-it or something, and you have a set of poker chips or anything else that is limited in quantity. And then you can put them anywhere you want, and the one with the most chips wins.
Like dot voting.
Yeah, a little bit like dot voting, but they're not sticky, so you can take them off and move them elsewhere.
Yeah. Get it.
And you immediately see, okay, if I want this to have more dots, more chips, I'll have that. There will be something where I have to take chips away. And it's all gut feeling, but it's really quick. And I would say if you're clear on what you want, if you're clear on your values, and you're clear on what the task in question is, then that's really easy, and it's probably more accurate and faster than any matrix or made-up computation than you.
Yeah, because I think ultimately, also the prioritization, it's about decision making.
Yes, and that takes
yeah, it was quite interesting what you said on insecurity or security.
Confidence thing.
Yeah.
Am I confident standing in front of these people and just saying, I think we should do this. Period. This is what I think. And maybe you have some reasons. And maybe you just like, I get the wrong feeling with this other thing. And people don't trust this feeling enough, even though it's, at least in my experience, one of the most accurate things in the history of ever. I mean, how often does something go wrong? And in the aftermath, people say, yeah, I had a bad feeling about this, but I didn't dare speaking up. And I thought that maybe this prioritization wasn't the right one, but the numbers said differently, so I went along with it. Why don't you speak up about it? Why don't we, why have pseudo-precise numbers behind everything and trust a computer to make a decision for you? When really, the minute you are writing a formula in an Excel sheet, you're programming the computer. So you are telling the computer what to do. You are making this decision, just not consciously. Yeah, so, and I think that's really, it is uncomfortable. Prioritizing is uncomfortable because you have to kill one of your babies. You have to say, we are not going to do that one thing.
At this moment.
Especially in a business context, that will have maybe unpleasant consequences. It's like saying, we are not going to.
I think it speeds things up anyway.
Sorry?
It speeds things up. Because if you say, okay, we cannot focus on everything at the same time anyways. So we'll just have to choose our battles. And for this period of time, it's going to be those 5 or 3 maybe. And that's it. And we'll see how it goes and what the results will be.
Yes, but you're going to make a bunch of
and
people.
And then go for another round anyway.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But in a lot of companies or surroundings, it could be, a sports club or whatever, you're going to make a bunch of people unhappy because the thing that they love the most, they might even agree that they might agree on the values and the priorities of the values, and they might even agree that given those values and their priorities, this is the right task to do. But there's like this one thing that they really wanted to do, or the one thing that they've been working on for the last half year, that gets shelved. That might be hard for them.
Yes.
Not everybody is ready to make or support a decision, and that's what I meant by it. You have to be ready to shelve your babies, if not to kill them, and say, okay, I'm not going to do the thing that I really love, and I fully support this decision, or even to suggest such a decision, to suggest, hey, thinking of what we just discussed regarding priorities and regarding values, I think we should not do this thing. Fully knowing that this other person in the room, that might be their baby.
Yeah.
That takes
time. I think it's important to, and that's why I like consent decision making so much, because everybody gets their say anyway. So instead of, because sometimes it's not about killing your babies, it's more about, okay, is my voice being heard, and do people understand my trouble with going along with it or not?
That's when issues are on the table.
Yeah, and then you can say, okay, based on this suggestion, can I consent, or is there something in the way which would harm this decision to prioritize on, I don't know what first.
Absolutely, but for that you need a team first where people dare to speak up about their suggestions, and then we can.
Yeah, well, I think the consent decision making, maybe it's a good topic to discuss at some other times on decision making or different ways of making decisions. Anyway, yeah,
but where I was going was to be able to make a decision as a team, no matter with which method you use. The options for the decision have to be on the table. Yes. And for that, someone has to have the psychological safety or confidence or whatever it needs to even suggest such a solution, even if it's not selected in the end. And it depends on your team maturity, on how much you trust each other and how much it is possible on a social level to even bring up such an idea. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, or where a lot of teams struggle is there's a lack of trust to say uncomfortable things and not be afraid
of about the elephant in the room.
Yeah, or the elephant
in
the room. Yes. And not everybody has the confidence to state their heart's opinion or their gut's opinion. Without having scientific sound proof that I computed this and therefore we should do this and that, which is hiding behind a number, hiding behind a method. It's not you that thinks that, it's that other thing it's a matrix that computed it. It's Excel.
Yeah. So no blame on the person.
Yeah. It was there was a mistake in the Excel sheet. Yeah, well, who programmed the Excel sheet? Well, that would have been you, right? It's not taking responsibility and being afraid to. And
well, they go hand in hand there. Yeah.
That probably leads back to, why does this person not feel safe or confident enough to say these things? And that ties back into how mature is the team? How much have you invested in team building? How much have you invested in a team culture where it's safe to say, things that may be way out there or that other people would react to in a surprised way? Is it safe or is it not?
Yeah, and what is safe for one can be unsafe for others anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it's interesting because in the end, prioritization is so important for a business. It can kill you. It can really make or break a business. And in the end, we just came down to, well, it's about how well people feel about each other that work together. And I find that interesting because I don't think a lot of people are aware of that or are aware enough of that.
So maybe we should do another one on this subject.
Maybe we should just promote the heck out of this video.
Well, yeah.
And they'll send freezers over to your place. Freezers that don't beep.
Aha.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I'm not sure. We've reached an end. We don't know if we're trying to have the same length of these episodes, or we just talk about it until we reach an end. So bear with us and give us your feedback on if you find it terrible that each of our episodes lasts random amount of time. Yeah. Or if you're fine with us just rambling on until we run out of things to discuss for however long it takes. Leave a comment. Like it
would be cool. Yeah. And if you have suggestions to further subjects, please also in the comments.
We also welcome guests. So our Zoom call has space for more people if you want to come and discuss with us. Let us know. Also, there's our Twitter handles in the description and right at the end. So tell us what you think.
Yeah, let's hang out online.
Sure.
Let's do that. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the time.